Gonna be a lot of water in this one, I think. All right, guys, it is November 17th, and it's time to winterize my sprinkler setup. So currently I have this manual timer set up to run my in-ground sprinklers for my flower bed. And then I have this timer set up going to in-ground piping for my yard enforcer motion sensing sprinklers to try to keep animals out of my flowers. So I need to disconnect all of this setup and get all the water out of it and put it away for the winter. And then this is my hose reel. I'm going to leave this out for a little bit longer. We're not supposed to get freezing temperatures for another week or so, but I want to blow out these in-ground lines and get all the water out of them. And I also want to make sure that there's no water in all of my sprinkler heads so that they don't freeze. This is a very important procedure, something you should do every year to keep your equipment from getting damaged by freezing water. If these lines get too much water in them and you leave it in there, it'll crack the pipe and then you'll have to dig it up the next year and replace it. So let's get started. It even says right here, keep from freezing. So we just want to get as much water out as possible, and highly recommend taking the batteries out every year, just in case they are older and they start to corrode, and even just to prolong the life of them. I've got a 5-gallon bucket I'm going to put everything in so I can keep the water from dripping all over the garage. Lost the strainer washer for the beehive timer. If you've never seen these hoses from Flexilla, I bought this leader hose this year for the first time, and they're great. It's got an O-ring instead of a regular hose washer. It seals so much better, and they're very flexible. I'll leave a link to this down in the description. Open these up, let any water drain out. If you didn't watch my video on setting up these sprinklers earlier this year, I'll leave a link in the description, but this is just a water hammer arrestor like you'd see on a washing machine in your basement. Same idea. It protects the water lines when the automatic timers shut the valves off for the water from my sprinklers. This is just a 45 adapter to get me away from the house in the orientation that I wanted. Again, I'm going to leave this connected for a little while longer. I'll probably be able to wash my cars this week before the freezing temperatures. Pro tip, a shop towel is very handy for getting these really tight when your hands are wet. So next I'm going to blow this line out for my in-ground sprinklers. And the way I'm going to do that is with this connector. I believe they make these or sell these for blowing the water out of like an RV, but it'll work exactly the same for this application, because I've got a garden hose connector for my sprinkler line. I just thread that in, and I've just got this little air compressor set up. Now I'm gonna dial this back with the regulator to 30 psi. You don't want too much pressure going into those sprinkler lines. They're not made to handle the same high pressure as a air hose or dedicated air lines. So I'm going to do 30. That's more than enough to blow all the water out. All right, I got an air hose set up. Now I've got the end of the sprinkler line and I've got the end of my air hose, and I'm just going to connect them. Now I'm going to start with the first sprinkler on the line and work my way down, and I'm going to close all of these. I want the air pressure to build up. Looks like I got a leak in this one. I'm gonna have to cut that out. An animal must have chewed through it. So I cut off the part that the animal chewed on, and I've got this goof plug I'm just gonna stick in the end. And now that won't leak anymore. All right, I got the whole line is now pressurized, so I'm gonna start again with the first one down the line, and I'm going to start letting them bleed out. And you can see all the moisture coming out. And I'm just going to let each one of these run for a little bit. And then as I go down the line, I'm going to close it, go to the next one, open it, so on and so forth. Sometimes if you turn it off, let it sit for a couple seconds with the compressor running, and then open it again, you'll get more. Just want to get as much as you can. A little bit's not going to hurt. You just don't want the lines full. See, that one's really full. The further down the line, the more chance for moisture. Now this one I didn't even use this year, but there's going to be water in here anyway. These are really easy. You could just take the cap all the way off. It's going to blow right in my face probably. A lot of water in that one. There's going to be a lot of water in this one, I think. This is the end of the line, pretty much. All right, I'm gonna go do all of those all over again off camera. Now down here somewhere, I've got the actual end of the line hose that I wanna dig up so I can blow it out. What I'm gonna do is slide that down, and then when I unfold this, it's gonna let all the air pressure out. And I'm just gonna do that a couple times. Just want to get as much out as possible. Now I went through the whole line again, and I got a little bit more water out of some of the sprinkler heads, but I'm pretty confident that I got the majority. But you can see it just keeps coming. All right, I'm going to call that good enough. Cover this up a little bit. I'll bury it again in the spring. Anything that's left isn't enough to cause the pipe to explode, I wouldn't think. So I'm going to call that good. All right, so I need to follow the same process to get the water out of the lines for my Yard Enforcer motion sprinklers. I actually want this to stay connected to the line itself. I'll show you why. I'm going to take the cap off of this side and put the cap on here. That way I can keep insects and dirt and moisture from getting in. But I'm going to use this to blow out the lines also. Be very careful with these metal couplers. The threads are very sharp, and I cut my hand, so I'm going to wear some gloves so I don't get any dirt in there and get an infection. I'm gonna go do the same to my front yard enforcer. Then I'm gonna connect the air compressor to that line the same way I did the other in-ground sprinklers. That was explosive. I have a feeling I'm gonna get wet here. At least on the front yard I am. Nothing. We'll let the pressure build up and then try the front. Here's the front. Oh boy. It's coming. Look at all that water that was in there. I have a better idea for this. I'm going to put one of these splitters. Anything with a valve would be great. I was going to use a hose nozzle, but all my devices have quick disconnects on them, and I didn't want to take them all off, but I had this laying around, so I'm just going to throw that on. All of these metal, I cut myself on this last year, so be careful with any metal threads. The outside's very sharp. All right, the compressor just shut off. That worked pretty good. Just keep doing that a little bit till we get all the water out. All that air pressure is just pushing all the water to the end. Anything that's sitting in low spots. It's pretty much water vapor at this point. I think I'm going to call that good. Again, I got to be careful. These are sharp. You could just put your hand over it too. I'm going to put this cap on and call it good for the season. This way, no moisture, no dirt, no bugs, nothing's getting in there throughout the winter. And then in the spring, I can put my yard enforcer back in, connect it, and they're good to go. All right, I got everything in the bucket. We'll leave this here for a little bit to dry out and then put it in a bin and store it away for the winter. So the last thing I do to winterize this system is I put a plastic bag. And I just save these, any plastic bags throughout the year. I know I'm going to need them for this. I'll just throw them in my toolbox in the garage, and then I have them when I need them. This, I think, actually came with these zip ties in it. They were for some lights I got from Harbor Freight, I think. So I just slide the end in. You could use a sandwich bag, you could use any plastic bag, and these zip ties were already in there. They're not quite big enough to go around, so I'm going to use 2 per connection. There. Now nothing can get in there, and in the spring I'll just cut those off and reconnect them to my timers. And do the same to this one. And that one's good too. All right, now my sprinkler systems are completely winterized and ready to be frozen if necessary. I hope this gave you some ideas on how to protect your system. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments. If you like the video, please don't forget to hit the thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more content like this, go ahead and subscribe. Thanks for watching.